So basically, we are going to talk about mindset, how developers build products, and Pentester, how they pen test things, right? So I'll just give a blueprint. So basically, we have IT peoples all over, like everyone is into some company or some college. So you must be into some kind of development, club activities or something around that. So this is going to be like an discussion. So I will need your inputs as well. Will be like, so the main objective is, so we have people from cybersecurity, we have people from development and different set of IT industries right here. And the main objective of this talk is to make pen testers understand how developers think and developers understand how pen testers think. So end goal is to make developers build a better product so that it's secure, and pen testers understand how developers think so they can pen test very well, right? So this is like an hand in hand thing, so which basically helps in a lot of cases, like when we talk about pen testing or CTF or any bug bounty related things, everything is black box, right? So say Instagram, Facebook or any other site. So if when you see, you really don't know what framework it is. You can obviously find out through fingerprinting, but talking in general, you just don't know how it is built, what coding practices they have, how they assign variables, things like that. But if you have some developer idea, it's gonna be like and +1 on all the testing part. So you'll make some assumptions that will be very helpful, right? So that's the main objective of this talk. So I'm Abhisek. So I work as a security analyst in a company called SecureN. It was previously known as Cybersecurity Works. So I majorly work into pen testing part. It's into web application, network, Active Directory, mobile, and things like that. So and I also have a podcast called the Abhisek Cast, so where I invite in people who are high value individuals into cybersecurity, not specific to web or network, but it's on different niche of cybersecurity, like physical penetration testing, cloud and browser, and different kinds of cybersecurity companies, right? I bring in their researchers, CEOs, CISOs to my podcast, and we have like 7 episodes so far. So this is specifically about my podcast. So this is a meme that you would have come across in like a lot of social medias, like people who are getting started with bug bounties. Like when they get to know about cybersecurity, the first thing which attracts everyone is bug bounties, right? The main part is the bounty thing, which is an monetary reward which is given usually in dollars, and when we consider that from India, it's gonna be thousands, whatever you get, right? So it's very interesting. So people used to skip a lot of different things, a lot of fundamentals, and go into the testing part, the pen testing part, which is like an incomplete thing, where after you start pen testing, but you really don't know how things work in the behind the scenes, and that is really a roadblock for a lot of different attacks that you might come across. Okay, so let's these are the objectives that we are going to see. Developers understand how pen testers think, pen testers will understand how developers think. So this is the whole objective, and like after this talk, my aim is that, so since you get ideas of all this, you'll be able to build a better product and better pen test. So that's the whole point of this talk, right? So we are going to do an activity. Say we are going to brainstorm an product, and then we are going to brainstorm on how we can pen test that. Okay, so let's pick an idea. Say, let's say an e-commerce application. Okay, so that's what we are going to brainstorm today. So say I want your inputs. Okay, so we are going to build an e-commerce application. So is there any in-house developers here who work on product development, web application development right here? Yeah, so how do you start a requirement gathering phase for an e-commerce application?
So basically we will be first analyzing the requirement.
Yeah. Okay.
So we will be analyzing the requirement, what are the features we are going to add, and what is the payment gateway we are going to use.
Okay.
And what is the services if we are going to host in cloud, what is the which cloud provider we are going to use.
Okay.
So basically we will first analyze the requirement, features and cost.
Okay, give some inputs yourself. So we are just brainstorming the product. You can select the database you want to select. You can select what framework you want to use, what cloud provider. Just give some inputs. We'll go to the next phase like that. So we'll do it in that way. So what are the things that you want to select?
We can choose AWS for a cloud provider.
Okay.
And we can use NoSQL database.
Okay. MongoDB, let's take it like that. Okay.
And we can use React for front end.
Okay.
And back end we can do it with Python
or Node.js, anything like that. So we'll have this set of requirements in place. So we are taking NoSQL database. We are taking MongoDB, and we are using React and Node.js for front end and back end. We are having cloud providers like AWS to host our instances, and AWS will manage almost all of the things like load balancing and upscaling, everything. So it can be managed over there. So this is a blueprint how we are going to build that application. So we don't have any specifics right here, but we just know we are going to use these things, right? So with these things in place, say React is there. So basically, if we talk about React is going to act as an one-page applications. So React has its own set of vulnerabilities, its own set of features, how it works, right? So when pen testing starts, so it starts with fingerprinting part, right? So fingerprinting is basically like you just access the website as a user. So for an e-commerce application, you just go browse things. So when you browse, you can see the request response, and when you are doing each and every request, you can see how the request is going. So if that is an one-page application, so it's gonna be like components. So each components will be changing based on what user clicks or what user does, right? So when you do something, there's an API request that is going on. You'll see request and response, and you'll basically understand how these are working. So once you have these in place, then let's get more ideas about the features that's implemented. So let's give the chance to others also. So what else? What are the other features that you would like to implement on the e-commerce application? So basically, by default, we'll have a login page, register page, and payment will be there, because you obviously have to buy products, you have to search for products. So for searching, if there is going to be thousands of products, you should have a proper indexing way so that the products are actually fetching up, right? So what are other features that you would like to implement? Just your input. So what are the things that you come across in an e-commerce? Like what do you see in Amazon? What do you see?
Personalized.
Yeah. Okay. Personalized feed. So to talk about personalized feed, so there will be cases like, say, if I'm logging into the application, so the server side will already know about what are my likes and dislikes, and there will be custom made dynamic page for each person's, right? So now the blueprint is like you have login, register, and all default authentication functionalities. You have React in place, and say backend is going to be Node.js, and you also said about like using an NoSQL database, right? So that MongoDB is in place. So these are there. Say on the payment gateway side, say we are using Razorpay, for example. So these are in place, right? So this is how the requirement gathering goes. This is a very simple requirement gathering, but rather in a product company or in an like a development agency, things like that, they do more in specific of customer requirements. Okay, so they brainstorm more about how better the framework selections could be. Like we just randomly chose React, but there can be some edge cases where React really won't set for this, but we could go for some other languages, some other frameworks like Angular or Vue or anything like that, right? So there can be cases like that. So that's in place, and also MongoDB is in place, and like say Razorpay gateways, right? Gateway integrations also has some roadblocks, like that might not support some kind of statement. I'm not telling it doesn't support, I'm just giving you hypothetical situations where it will be like an choose this or not. Like there might be reasons why to choose Stripe gateway rather Razorpay or something like that, right? So there will be they'll be ideating like pros and cons of each and every models that they can go through, and then only they'll be coming up with what things can be used. And this also applies for databases. So basically in colleges you might have come across this particular theorem called CAP theorem, right? So it's basically into database part. So databases have some like it's an three criteria thing. It's like availability, atomicity, performance, things like that. It's like three things that comes in place, but the actual meaning that that theorem conveys is that you can't have all three features in one database, only two you can have. So that is how.
Asset model you are talking about?
Not specifically that, I'll show you that one. ACID, I think it's specific to SQL, right? So it's these three criteria. So consistency, availability, partition tolerance. So these three criteria, if you talk with SQL database, NoSQL database, like things like that, there will be only two features that you can check. So you'll have to do an analysis on which you are going to pick. So that's not the problem. I'm just telling these are the cases that they understand, like things are in place when doing requirement gathering. Okay. So once we have all the requirement gathering, then it goes to the development part. So development builds the product, and then it goes to the QA testing, right? So we are assuming a situation where there is no pen testing or an security testing is done on the company, but on QA side it's more gonna be like it's an understanding where if the particular functionality is working on intended way or not, and like if it is actually working how it is supposed to be, like if you click this, if this is happening or not. So this is how and basic development workflow works like. So what are the different components that you have come across when doing an product building? Like if you are into a product company, so how do you usually do this process? So what are the different process I missed here, and what are the different processes that you guys follow? So some inputs from your side. Okay, so do you guys think I have covered all the phases that they see in development side?
There will be a QA or UAT.
Yeah, okay. So let's have that before QA testing. After the development process, we'll say like there is an UAT environment that's built, and that is used for the testing purpose, and then it goes to the deployment phase. Okay, so there is one more phase that we missed, so that is the UAT deployment part. So what else are we missing here, or do we have everything on a development life cycle? Yeah, so just for this situation we are eliminating the security part. That will come towards the next slide. So what else apart from security? Yeah, SDLC is the whole life cycle. So I'm just talking about the components. Are we if we are missing anything like that? So we have seen different phases. We got some requirements. We selected some architecture, and we did the programming part. We have a product, and we have deployed that in UAT, and that is going to unit testing, different types of functionality testing. And once all the things are done, there is a sign off, and it goes to production. So let's assume this is an whole life cycle what an developer goes through, and a developer would be working on different set of phases based on their work, right? So this is an pretty much like an basic thing what developer goes through in their development part, right? So now let's come to the pen testing side. Okay, so when we go to pen testing part, so let's take e-commerce application. So how do we start pen testing? So we have different phases of pen testing, like reconnaissance, then goes to the exploitation, so different attack surface management, and mapping different like threat modeling, things like that, right? So how do you guys approach, if there are any pen testers in house, so how do you approach a web application pen test? Say, so who are the people who work as pen testers here, or any people who is into web application pen testing? How do you approach an web application?
See, threat modeling is more on a design phase then. So,
yes.
So probably you're talking about secure development life cycle, which is generally advocated by Microsoft. So the security part of the requirement start in the requirement phase itself.
Right. I wanted to come through this point after this phase. So like I intentionally wanted to miss those phases on the first part, okay, and then we discuss about the pen testing part, and while combining we'll just add in what are the things which can be added, so which is specifically into the threat modeling part, which will add in all the parts. So we conclude it in that way, so that if it is built that way, it's and resilient.
What exactly the question is about, like how the pen testing is being approached?
Yes. So what are the things that is done during the reconnaissance phase? How you personally approach an web application?
See, reconnaissance phase and all is more when you do part of you are part of an engineering team. There won't be much of reconnaissance and all. Plus you are inside the engineering team. You are an extended part of the team. So you will have all the access to the application. You may even know it will be more of a grey box and white box at some level. Okay, so you may be exposed to the database design, you may be exposed to the API design, all those information. So reconnaissance and all those things will come when you are trying to hit the system as a red team.
Yes.
From an external vendor.
Yes.
Okay. You approach as a black box.
Yes.
Okay. So that is where those things come up.
Yeah. Let's assume the black box.
So you are talking about an external vendor trying to.
Yes. Yeah, we can assume that you are the vendor I am trying to approach. I have a web application product. I give it to you for pen testing. So it's black box. I don't give any credentials to you. So you just approach it in a black box way. So I'm just trying to collect all your methods so that people will understand how we do the initial information gathering part. So they understand how the reconnaissance happens, and then we'll go into other steps of the.
So fundamentally, we'll try to understand the domain,
okay,
the IP ranges which are exposed to the external world.
Okay.
We'll try to understand the hosting servers. Where
yes.
is it being hosted? Is it like an on-prem or is it cloud-based, means which is a service provider?
Okay.
Okay. We'll try to trace back the flow.
Okay.
Okay. If there are no credentials provided, whatever we are left out with this only the IP
okay.
or the domain.
Okay.
So we would try some brute force.
Okay.
Using the exposed interfaces. Okay.
Okay.
Then try to get that. If you are able to find out what is the tech stack that is being used, we try to
yes.
find out any specific vulnerability in the tech stack,
yes.
and try to attack that part of the tech stack.
Okay.
Okay. So that is the approach that is the maximum approach we can do when you are approaching the black box.
Okay.
We can't do much further. If you are not even given credentials.
Yes.
If you are given credentials, that's a different path altogether.
Yeah, that's right, sir. So we have an web application, as sir said. So we'll just access the application. So we have different functionalities over there. Since it is in black box, you don't know what the credential is, and black box can go to a place which can be like, if there is a registration page in place, you definitely have an way to get inside the application, but that's not the case at all the pen tests. So there can be pages where it say the application is invite only, or say the application is only for the internal employees. So on those places you don't really see any registration pages, right? So in these cases, so initially what we are trying to understand is that when there is an web application is there, we are fingerprinting what the technologies are. So fingerprinting can be done in different ways. Say, and one of the very easiest ways to use an browser extension called Vaporizer. It fingerprints, so that can be done, but that's not the only way. So say if there will be a lot of request and responses. So request response you can see for some type of response, say server headers or different set of custom headers that is coming in place, which can tell you what are the services that is running. Say if a particular application is hosted via AWS, right? The AWS adds some custom headers, so you can assume that AWS is in place. So these are like assumptions that's done when a pen test starts. So this is like an information gathering phase, right? So initially starting you have all this information, but contrastingly, talking in a developer point of view, so the more you make the more you hide what you are using, it's the better it is, right? Say if the server header is going to leak like Apache server, the version that is using, you can override those keywords getting leaked. You can override with something else. You can also put something else. Say you can mention some other server name. You still use Apache, but you mention some other name over there. So which makes it hard to fingerprint, right? Then so say if you are obviously seeing request and responses, right? So there can be responses in any different way. However you want, you can print that. But say if you are just directly, since we chose MongoDB, so if you are going to just directly output what MongoDB is giving, all the data that's coming out, you just expose it to the user. There is obviously some default IDs that comes on MongoDB, right? It gives an underscore ID parameter, so which helps us fingerprinting that there is a NoSQL database in place. So these things are initially fingerprinted because it helps us to understand that these databases are in place, right? So if these are in place, so you understand that MongoDB or NoSQL data is in place, there's no point in trying SQL injection, right? So these are the things why the initial information gathering is done. So basically how much ever information that you have, it's better it is. So you try to collect all the information. You see how the images are getting exposed. You see if there is any CDNs are used. So all the application will obviously have different images. Even though if there is no images, there will be one particular image called favicon, right? Favicon is basically an image that comes on the tabs where there is an application name. There towards the left there will be a smaller image. It's by default it's there. It's for exposing your logo. It's showing it to others, right? And proper built website will have some images like that, and those images have some certain set of bypass. Okay, I'll talk about one specific bypass. Say you are exposing your website through Cloudflare. Okay, so you are going to use Cloudflare as an WAF, and you are not going to expose it directly from your server. So your IP is hidden, right? So you expose it through Cloudflare. So whatever the user tries to interact with those services, it comes via Cloudflare. And if you try to put some malicious payloads, Cloudflare has a good set of like filtering, and it will directly block. But there is one particular bypass that you can check. There is a website, I couldn't recollect the name properly, but what it does is, since all the websites have favicon in place, it will be like hashing the favicon image and storing it somewhere, right? So it will spider the whole internet, like say Shodan. So say you can build the service yourself, right? You can use Shodan, you can get all the available web applications, get all the favicons, hash it. And so the reason behind hashing is, say you are using website that is routing via Cloudflare, that is say example.com. When you access it via example.com, you will see the favicon. So you can get the image and say we agree upon SHA-256 algorithm. So I has that favicon image with SHA-256, and that site has spied whole internet and has the all the favicon hashes. So if it matches somewhere, it will give you relevant IP addresses which matches, and you can go there and see if it is the source IP. This is a particular bypass to get over the WAF. If you get a source IP, you bypass Cloudflare, and you are exposed to new set of entities, right? So this is how reconnaissance is done. This is a specific bypass that I am talking, and all different functionalities are there, and so it is important to understand how important it is to do the information gathering. And once we do all this, then we go to the modular part. You see what are the modules in place. Assuming a black box scenario without any registration, you just have login, forget password, and some default pages, so that can be seen. So those are there, and on these cases, these are the things that you get to see, right? So to talk about another, not a common but a very old vulnerabilities, like there will be social media pages links that will be available, but the page won't be there, so you can deface that particular, like say if there is XYZ Facebook page, and if it is not existing, you can create one, right? So these are some older attacks. So these are some kind of attacks that can be seen, and this is how an Pentester approaches an application. So basically we saw about how developers do the requirement part and requirement gathering and the whole life cycle part. On the contrast Pentester side, it's gonna be like information gathering and trying to abuse all this information. Like whatever you have, you assume, you try to break. If you are just saying if you can do something that's not intended to. So that is how Pentester does it, right? So to compare all these things, so it's basically like when the feature ideation is happening, there is an important phase of threat modeling. If you use React, what are the threats that is going to come? If you use NoSQL, what are the threats that's going to come? If you use AWS, what are the threats? So if it is done on the like initial featuring, like feature requirement, like requirement gathering phase, it's gonna give a lot of visibility at that point. It's easier to mitigate at that point itself, because if you do it in the last QA or the pen testing part, it's gonna cost you more. You have to go back, right? So that's why it's done in the first place. So then again, so the second point also applies in the similar way. So whatever you are trying to build, you are seeing what are the attack surfaces that you are leaving. If it is only web application, you are leaving that particular places as attack surface, and that's how the entry point is. So it's you can basically understand, like wherever user can supply some input, all of that is an entry point. So all inputs that needs to be considered. So usually this is like we only see if the input is expected. We don't see if what if there's an unexpected input is coming. So there should be whitelisting, there should be blacklisting as well. So that is important. And another important part is after the building phase, the UAT environment where you do QA. At the same point, penetration testing for each module is important, because it has its own set of vulnerabilities, and doing it and that phase is going to give you a better security point. And so it's most into these lines. So if there are certain set of phases that is getting implemented, there is going to be a better product. And so this is the actual talk which I wanted to give. It's a very short talk. It's just a discussion about how developers think, how pentesters think. My plan is to not talk about any attack bypasses or things like that. So we saw how developers think, we saw how pentesters think. So now you have some ideas on how they think. So when you test, think on their way. When you develop, think on their way. So it's a better product altogether. So that's the objective of this talk. So that's it. Thank you so much. So any questions that can be taken?
Whose phone is this?